Welcome to Smiles and Cents, where we talk dentistry, money, business, and life outside the chair. I'm Ian with Dental Wealth Partners, and as a reminder, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and not to be taken as investment advice. With that, let's get started.
Like the personal side, like of just the running businesses, like having families, writing a book, doing a podcast. Like I know you understand.
Eli, and then
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
he's 2, and then I've got we have 1 on the way. So they expected here in
Oh, that's right.
less than
Come on.
a month away. So
Yeah, nice. Are you kind of getting ready to be in the trenches? And
yeah, we're ready, man. I mean, the nesting mode is real, not for the dads, but for the moms. You know, I know you can attest to this with your kiddos. But yeah, no, we're thrilled, man. We're excited.
Yeah, it's so interesting I mean, kids require so much, like in a good way, right? And then I'm not sure, this was like my yesterday. I had 8 meetings throughout the day, all important things that couldn't be kind of put off, just in between spine practices or doing something. And then I get a call from my wife. There's a little school event, wrapping up my day later than I had planned originally. It's 6:30. Wife says, "Hey, the school's having like a little mini carnival. Why don't you come out here?" And it's like, okay, we're gonna keep.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I'm just trying to survive.
You keep showing up, you know.
Yeah, I need to keep showing up. So tell me, like, because you're running wide open, doing all this marketing and content and running your practice, dealing with, I'm sure, hiring and firing. It's just like everybody else. What does it look like for you from a personal standpoint?
I mean, it's something that I like. I guess I've made a conscious decision to do. And so I've kind of chosen to like kind of, you know, be busy like that. I do think sometimes it feels like a lot. I'm sure other business owners or people who continue to grow and expand can relate to that. And so sometimes it feels like, especially being, you know, a husband, trying to be the best husband I can be, and business owner and father and whatever hat it is. It's, you know, sometimes it does feel like there's not as much time for you personally, but that's okay. I guess you just learn to operate, for me, I guess, at different levels, kind of like you were talking about, which I'm curious about. Rebranding the business, growing the business, writing a book. It's like you probably just start to operate you don't want to burn yourself out, but you start to operate at a different kind of bandwidth that you maybe didn't used to.
Yeah, it's 100% true, because it's really interesting. You kind of find these different levels of like, okay, I didn't know I could push myself that far, and you push yourself that far. If I'm completely transparent though, and I got challenged about this week, and so I started getting back up at 4:30 and getting outside and running and lifting weights. Usually the first thing to go is working out, because it's just kind of like, okay, I can sacrifice working out, put that extra time towards creating content or writing a book or, doing extra paperwork that's needed.
Right. Unless I'm the same way too. Like with these different things, I get up usually about 4:30, sometimes 4. And like it's easy to like, I want to get this done, or then I don't stretch and then my back hurts from all the dentistry. Yeah. So it is. It's easy to like, I know, but it's all, you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, for sure. What for you, like, obviously it's always fun talking to guys that are running at a fast pace. How is the dynamic for you and your wife, right? Like, because sometimes I found, like, thankfully for me, like my wife's used to run at a fast pace too. We have 4 kids. She has to run at a fast pace to keep up with all of them. Like, and especially if I'm working a little bit more, like, how does that work for you? Like, does your wife you guys have been together for a long time, right?
Yeah, like 20 years. We're high school sweethearts.
Come on, which is awesome. Such a rare deal. Actually, let's back up. Give me a little bit more on that. Like, guys met in high school.
Yeah, so we met.
She knew you were going to become a dentist.
It sounds like a 1940s or 50s. We met at like the movie theater, actually. She was there with a friend, and they were actually with 2 other guys, but we met at the movie theater diner at our hometown. And
was she on a date with another guy
she
when
said
you met
she
her
wasn't
originally?
on a date, but she was there with 2 other guys. So I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Either way, you ended up on top.
Yeah, so exactly. And then she transferred to our school, and then the rest is history. And actually, oddly enough, her dad was my dentist growing up.
Wow. Okay.
And
interesting.
I didn't even know that he had any daughters, or I had never met her, but it just turns out that, her dad was my dentist growing up.
Okay. And because of that, was she kind of I guess, knowing what the dentist life is like, and kind of that thought process?
Like to an extent, and kind of like what you were talking about earlier, as far as like kind of how do we go about kind of managing these things? And honestly, it sounds like you guys with 4, and how many, is it 4 boys or right?
Yeah, 4 boys.
So like that's I feel like that's a whole other like energy of just ready to go.
Yeah.
Just managing it. Yeah, because her dad owned his own practice growing up, so it's kind of a similar scenario. But we just kind of have like, to an extent, like, I don't know if it's called like non-negotiable, but like I usually try and be home at a reasonable time to have dinner with her and Eli, and that's important to me, and to play with Eli and kind of hang out as a family until he goes to bed. And then if there's anything else I've got to do, then I'll get it done. And then making sure I've just kind of like what you talked about as far as staying kind of disciplined and like whatever it is you like structured. If I can stay disciplined and structured during the week and get done what I know I need to get done, like efficiently, then it works out. So then where I can have the time in the evenings or on the weekends to spend time with family. Because at the end of the day, that's really the most important.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree 100%.
How do you do it?
Yeah, I'm just thinking through like what you're saying, and it's really similar. Like especially when I first started my business several years back, it was at the time I left a big firm. It was great. It was high paid. It didn't agree with their philosophies, and I left, and I actually was working from home for a little bit of time period because you don't just get a office lease overnight. And so I was working from home, and a lot of times I would get up early, like start work at 4:30. Take a short break while like my wife gets up and like help the kids get out the door, and then kind of go back to work, and then take another break when we have dinner. And then at that time I was like, okay, after everyone's back to bed, then start working again. Thankfully we're past that stage for the most part.
Yeah.
What it was is kind of that my wife was sacrificing time with me, but my kids didn't miss the time with me. So they never felt any different, which was really good. But one thing we actually implemented, which has been, I would recommend this to everyone. Like financial planners usually tell people like, hey, don't go out to eat too much. But we actually started like once a week. We have a almost mandatory, like, hey, me and my wife are going on a date, set time every single week. And it's been great. Like we got to commit to a babysitter and a budget for going out to eat once a week, every night.
Yeah, I mean, that if you like so many things, if you don't schedule it and make intentional, well, and with four, it's not like you guys can just leave at the drop of a hat and be like, okay, we're going to go out to eat with 4 boys. It's like that you got to coordinate that, and it's like if you don't schedule it, or if it's not important enough to schedule, it's easy for like a month to go by, and then all of a sudden you haven't had that dinner with your spouse and been able to connect with them, or just be like, hey, how are you doing, or like
and with 4 kids, like honestly, doing anything can get difficult, right? So we have our oldest Carter, who's almost 8, Brewer, who's almost 6, and then Micah, who's 4, and then now our newest, which is Jack, he's 4 months old.
Yeah.
And so navigating like transitional moments of like, hey, we're going to go to soccer practice or whatever it may be. It'll take 15 minutes from the time we say, hey, we're getting in the car, until everyone's actually like in the car, in their car seats,
ready to go.
Yeah. So we're just like, we're so lucky just to be on time to things at this stage, let alone plan new activities.
Yeah. And then it's trying to stay on top of all that and be the best you can be with the different hats but it's a fun challenge. It's that just kind of comes with the territory when you try and within reason want to kind of keep your foot on the pedal and continue to grow in your marriage and grow as a father and just different aspects of your life.
For you, I'm curious, just the way you talk, you can tell this is probably the case, but are you pretty intentional about like the start of the year, like, hey, here's my business goals, here's my personal goals, and things of that nature?
Yeah, I would say I definitely like to sit down and have some like thought as far as like my intention, and have a general outline as far as, this is where I'd like the practice to be. This is where our numbers are going to be. I'd like to, for this year, it's like, I know I want to get my diplomat status from the ADSM. I want to take the sleep courses. I want to open the sleep clinic. I wanted the practice to hit, whatever. I think it was like 1.8 or close to that this year. And you know how it goes too. Sometimes you start the year and things evolve, and maybe what you thought you wanted by the end of the year, by the time you got halfway to the summer, you're maybe not be as important, and maybe you're putting more energy into something else.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. Yeah, this was the first year that I tried to not be as sophisticated with the plan, I guess. Like usually it's like, hey, I want to try and onboard this much and do this, and this is what the days are going to look like and things like that. And so this year I stuck to just a few really simple things, and basically said, hey, I'm going to read 1 book a month. This was at the time, I ended up having knee surgery in February. So I don't think I'm going to hit this one. Then I said, I want to run 10 miles by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to lose a little bit of the weight. And then I had a client or a revenue goal on the backside. And so there's only 4 things, which made it really easy to kind of track and say, okay, successfully do this or
Yeah.
not.
It's easier, like anything else, it's easy to say and difficult to do. And so it's like, once you're in the thick of it, then I like that approach too, because I mean, like anything else, there's like systems and processes like to goals that they say like, this is what works, being specific and how we're going to measure it. But sometimes too, I do think it's good to kind of have that kind of subconsciously. So your mind's working for you when you're not thinking, but sometimes it can kind of bog you down if you have too much going on. And then like you're kind of spread, your energy's not as coordinated and directed.
And the other interesting thing too is like there's so many other big things that can be accomplished or big goals that can be accomplished. But if they're not on that like specific plan or whatever, it may not be counted as like, hey, that was a good thing that was enjoyable. Like going into this next year, I've already kind of in my mind of like, hey, I want to plan on doing something fun with my family.
Yeah.
No matter what that is, and make that a part of the big goal. Like, hey, we did something really cool, made a lot of memories in this one thing.
Yeah, not like you're saying, like have them balance different parts of life and not necessarily just like goal, like not just all financial or professional.
It really is. It's so easy to just focus on like productive goals.
Yeah.
I think it's good sometimes to have like some necessarily not productive goals, but some more like, hey, this brings more back to me in my life. Like, hey, I went on an individual trip with my oldest kid or something like that,
No, it's great. And like your date night with your wife. I mean, unless you like kind of think about it and have some intention behind it, it's easy for that not to happen. You like,
exactly.
like think about, and I love that. I mean, as far as, going on a family trip or things outside, things that really do matter and are important other than just professional things.
Yeah, exactly. Cause I mean, there really is, I obviously deal with money. I talk about money all day, every day. That's what we do, but there's so many more important things other than money, right? Money is just a tool that we want to do. Anyways,
Where are you gonna take your family?
Connected.
Have you thought about it or?
Yeah, it's really just what can I get my wife to commit to?
Sure.
Because she's still like, well, we'll have a young kid.
That's true. Yeah.
So I'm trying right now to pitch her on the idea of us taking like a month-long road trip. She said before we got married that she wanted to go to a bunch of different state parks or national parks.
Oh, okay.
And so my thought process is like, there's a lot of national parks. Our kids are young, so we're not going to put them all on the plane and go fly somewhere super far.
Yeah.
But cramming the kids into an RV and then traveling from place to place might be actually pretty doable. And then,
well, I wonder like when you're looking back on this after you've done it, like how peaceful the experience will have been versus what.
Yeah.
You're making it sound pretty easy.
Yeah, there's always
4 boys in an RV for 12 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Have you seen those videos? Like this was a couple years ago, like going to the beach before kids. And it's like, you're just like, you have your flip-flops on, you have a towel maybe and some sunglasses.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Going to the beach post kids. It's like, you're just lugging all this stuff. You're just a pack mule. So
yeah, it's
we'll
we
see.
took our son to the beach for the first time this year down in Florida, and it was fun. It was
Nice.
it was definitely like you said, it was relaxing, but it's just as a parent and you're at the beach, like it's not like you have your feet up reading a book. It's like you're just on,
Yeah, 100%. Especially at the beach. 'Cause it's like, okay, my kid could drown here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I know too, before we wrap things up, I am curious about like the Wealthy Dentist, the book. So
yeah.
obviously you'll use a lot of that too, I'm assuming, for different like content and things that you'll post.
Yeah.
Is it like, what all are you just like, are you comfortable discussing that yet? Or you want to wait till you release the book or like
Yeah,
what
no,
all are
I'm-
you, like,
I'm-
what are the core things that you kind of just highlight or review in the book?
Yeah, good question. So I tried to make it as flowing throughout the career as I could. So just kind of starting out like, okay, early career, what are the main questions? Mid-career, what are the main questions? And then like end of career or early retirement, what are the main questions? And so it goes all the way from like, should I be a practice owner to should I just be an associate? And then if I'm a practice owner, should I just start up or should I buy?
Yeah.
And then what does that actually look like? And how do I value a practice? Because I mean, that's usually a high 6-figure, maybe 7-figure decision you make. And if you mess that up early on in your career, that could cost you your entire working career.
Yeah.
And then talk about marketing to the best of my ability. And then talk about obviously like financial aspects, like what strategies are important, what is important. And then you get to the point of like, well, the end of the career, you're selling your practice. How should you go about selling your practice? And then tax strategies and legacy planning, things of that nature. That's kind of like the gist of it.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's interesting because I know I like that it hits on different topics within, I don't know, at different phases of the career. for people just starting out, or maybe you're in your 40s or 50s and you're starting to think about, the next chapter. And what did you sit down? Like, when did you write? Like, did you write like in the mornings or?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was kind of sporadic. It would have been a lot better if I had said, hey, this is the dedicated time. So I had somebody approach me about writing a book about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, it was a group that I thought like, okay, I'm just going to sit down and chat with them. And then, 3 months,
2 years later.
I did not. Yeah, it was literally like, I'm just lucky to be done with this thing at this point. But yeah, during the process, I'm also growing my business. And so I saw the book as like, this is a passion project of mine that I really feel like it's good information. And I do a lot of speaking engagements. And my thought process was like, there's no way I could ever go fly around the country and speak to all the people that I need to speak to. And there's no way that I physically could even work with all the people I need to. Like, of course, I want to grow a firm and then hopefully hire other advisors to help support the amount of people that we can support. But my thought process was like, okay, let me just put out this information. And then so no matter what, if someone wants to do it themselves, they can pick up a book, read the book, and at least have a 75 to 95% idea of what they need to do to be successful.
Yeah.
And not end up in their back against the wall because they made a decision on not being educated. And yeah, so that was kind of the intention. But then that led me to having a strong passion to write it. But then any time there's a client meeting conflict or something of that nature, usually I would say, okay, I can write later, right? And so it ended up being like a lot of early mornings, a lot of late nights. And then sometimes on like Wednesday mornings, I'd be like, okay, this is the time that I blocked off. I'm going to grab a coffee and start writing. And
that probably feels like a huge weight lifted off your shoulder that it's done / like just exciting moment, honestly.
Yeah. We haven't started printing the book yet. So it's one of those things like the weight's probably not fully lifted yet.
Still some more to do.
Exactly. It's like, until it's actually done, it's not going to feel real until I'm physically holding the book. But it is like, I remember talking with my wife and just being like, it shouldn't be like this. But I was just like, I'm just glad to be done. Like, it feels like I've been running a race and the finish line was so close for so long. I'm just glad to have crossed the finish line. But have you ever thought about writing something? Because I mean, you create a lot of educational content on dentistry. Have you ever thought about writing something like for a patient to pick up and hold like that?
Well, I've definitely thought about writing like a book or even like more longer form things outside of dentistry. I bet too, you probably learned a lot, even though it took, 2 years. I mean, you probably developed some new skills, different things, ways to organize information, present information that maybe you didn't know before, but have like gotten better at, I would assume.
Yeah, no. And just in regard to like the why you present information a certain way was something I never really thought about. And like you mentioned earlier, just about communication, like I had to get better at communicating in writing form because I'm so used to having conversations like this where you're talking to a client or you're talking to an attorney or an accountant or whatever you may be working through for a strategy, but then to only put it on paper, it takes a little bit more depth of kind of building the case along the way, creating more clarity. So the book should be out in the next couple of months. And hopefully at that point, it's to a position where it's clear for people to look at, like kind of grab it, pick it up, read a chapter or two, given their stage of life, and actually understand what the next step is.
Yeah, I know. I'll read it for sure.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I'll definitely send you a
copy. Are you familiar?
Alan Dibb.
I think it's DIBB. He wrote the one-page marketing plan. That's one of the books that I bought when I first bought the practice, just because he focuses on that book's really about direct response marketing, but he just talks about marketing in general. And then he just released a new book. I think it's called Lean Marketing. And it's really good too. But he talks about using the book as one of his basically like his marketing tools and long form content, like just everything he goes through to write the book to present the information. But then at the same time, everything that he can extract from it and promote and
it is. And I think it's also like for me, like kind of how you would do your services page. It's a good anchor to say like, hey, here's a quick response to somebody, but hey, go read chapter, and where I really kind of dig into it is kind of the hope. And then to somewhat of the podcast, that's kind of the hope too, where it's kind of like, hey, I don't really like in regard to the marketing side of things, like I've never been a dentist. I've never marketed from your perspective. Go listen to this podcast. Right. And then you have more questions, reach out to that person.
Right. No, that makes sense. I mean, if you've got all that information online and I mean, I don't know what percentage of your business is referral versus just new clients discovering you, but yeah, I mean, if you've got all that
Yeah.
information on your site and scenarios,
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
discoverability.
there's as of honestly until recently, and actually this came from one of my friends just being nice to me. He's like, Ian, I feel like you're the best kept secret.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's not a good thing from a business perspective. Right. And because we get referred to people all the time when we say super busy, and that's great. But it's like, well, from a business perspective, we're the best kept secret. I'm not doing my job as a CEO and marketing well. And so that's when kind of the wake up was like, okay, I'm working on this book. Like, let's get the book done. And then Richard Lowe actually challenged me in a big way. He's like, hey, dude, you need to do a podcast
Yeah.
based on all the ideas and what you're talking about. I was like, okay, yeah, I just need to go ahead and do it. And then he challenged me. He's like, no, like let's schedule an episode and record
Let's
one.
do it. Let's actually do it.
Yeah. And then, which Tyler Thompson, he's off screen right now, but he's helped me in a big way, making it where 99.9% of the time I'm just coming in here and pressing play. And then, it's things are rocking and rolling. So there's been a lot of people that thankfully just care about me and challenge me in a healthy way. And then also a lot of people on the team that are just kind of saying like, hey, here's the end goal. How do we get there? And then helping me get there.
Yeah.
So.
Back when we were talking about like just the business and stuff, it's like you could be the best wealth management or, however it is, financial planner, but like if no one really discovers how great you are until they buy from you to an extent.
Yeah,
so it's
that's
like,
right.
You got to help facilitate them discovering you,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. In that effect, it's like, and also we have so many laws around how we market things of that nature. You can't post investment returns. And so it's like,
I didn't know that.
It's so interesting. So you could be doing a phenomenal job from an investment return perspective, but you can't really talk about it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I get why they do that because I'm sure there's people that can manipulate.
Yeah. There's a little asterisk at the bottom, like
things.
this is based off of whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And so anyways, it's just very interesting. There's some states even you can't even have testimonials.
Wow.
Right. Like it's really interesting. And I get why they do it, right? The laws are always made to protect the people that are the consumer. And then also there's always somebody that usually manipulated a situation and then they created a law after the fact. So
what, and I know too, I know we can wrap things up because I know this is going longer.
Yeah.
So what, like for your business, because I'm just curious, I like talking to like we're doing, talking to people who are and expanding their business. Like what are like the 3 core things that you're doing or you've done to like go from working at home to where you're at now, like even getting new clients or building your client base and the money managing?
So I'll kind of try and put this into a scope where it's simple enough, I guess. I'm a non-commission fee-only planner, which virtually no one knows about. There's like a handful of other people that do what we do from a national perspective. They're just like generalist. And maybe not a handful. A handful is probably a stretch, but it's usually like 5%. And so first I had to kind of educate people on like, okay, what does that even mean? Why would somebody pick a non-commissioned financial planner? And then the next step was like, okay, why am I niched in dentistry? And let me help explain why that makes sense on the education standpoint and how I've worked with several clients that they wanted to own a practice. And then the first advisor that they worked with told them, pay down debt aggressively and invest in a retirement account. And they didn't have liquidity to actually be able to buy a practice.
Right.
And buying a practice would have been way more beneficial for them financially, right? Because kind of know the levers and strings to pull on to make more money in that place. And so then like explaining that and educating that. And then I did that mainly through going and talking to groups and kind of educating them on just strategies and why you do one thing versus another, why you would probably not hire the guy who's a financial advisor who sells insurance and what things to be aware of. And then I started getting a lot of clients from that standpoint. And then it got to the point where I was like, okay, now I'm too busy and I can't even really do my job to the best of my abilities and still onboard new clients. And so I have to grow my team. And then I started growing my team. And then it got to the point where I started getting a lot of leadership questions. Right. And so I'm sure you probably have some of this stuff, like you talk to your accountant or whoever about, hey, I have this issue with HR. How should I handle this? And it got to the point where it was like, yeah, this is so outside my range. Like I don't need to be communicating on this level with somebody. And so let me bring somebody in that I can trust. And so I hired actually an executive leadership coach internally which has been great for my clients, but it's also been great for me because
Frees up some headspace
like
so that you don't have to think about as many other things.
yeah, it frees up so much
Yeah.
headspace. And then obviously having somebody of that high quality on your team is extremely helpful. Because then I bounce things off of that to him. And yeah, so that's kind of been the process. And then it's now to the point where it's like, okay, we've done a really good job. We've been knocking it out of the park locally, like got endorsed by the Mississippi Dental Association and Dental Society. And we're kind of known in our region and people that we connect with at conferences and things like that. And it was kind of like take it a step further and kind of start going outside of our comfort zone. And to do that, have to market. And so I'm probably at like where you were at 2 years in, like I'm at, you're like 6 months in process where it's like, okay, now we have a team. Now we're just all the blocking and tackling right. Now we need to market so we can actually grow. Spent a lot of time on tech and scaling and systems and processes. Like this goes back to actually, I'm not sure if I told you this or not. So when I first started this, my wife's a nurse by trade. I actually backed up and I had her work with me for a short time period as my administrative assistant, which was such a dumb idea.
I imagine that would be challenging.
Yeah. And it was like the idea of like, hey, she's super competent and I want to hang out with my wife at work. Like the idea sounded really cool until it's like practically I'm busy running wide open. I'm handing her paperwork to open up client accounts. And then I'm expecting her to get it done. And,
And then if it doesn't get done, how do you handle that?
Yeah, exactly. If it doesn't get done, how do you handle that? And then also on her end, she needs me to do my part. She's kind of one of those people that's like, hey, I don't stop until it's done.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many things to do. I'm sure you know this, like on your side, like being an entrepreneur, the work is endless in any business. And so we'd be in the bed at 11 o'clock at night and she'd be like, hey, did you sign that paperwork? And it's like, what?
Like never, it's tough to turn it off.
Yeah. I want to work with my wife. I don't want to be married to my administrative assistant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, we had a pivot and I don't even remember where I was going with that, but
No, you were talking about like building out your team and like how that's evolved. And basically how you used to work with her when you were initially kind of getting some things going.
Yeah. So anyways, building out a team to basically just solve problems internally and then also for clients. And so we started doing practice valuations because, a lot of the brokers that we've run into don't do an extensive amount of due diligence in regards to even looking at bank statements, which I think is really interesting. And so we started doing that process as a favor to a lot of clients. And it was like, okay, we probably can't do this as a favor indefinitely, issue for a lot of people. So we just lumped it into our financial planning analysis. Yeah. So we will continue to solve problems as they come across. And obviously I'd love to run a nonprofit, but I have to pay bills and our team has to pay bills. And so we have to charge accordingly. So
yeah, when your book comes out, it'd be fun I'll be curious to read through it. And then maybe we would do this outside of a podcast, but like was thinking like with the book, I'm like, I'm curious if like maybe if you actually had dentists sit down and walk through the chapter of like what you talked about earlier.
Oh, I love that.
You talked about should you pay off your debt first and whatever, or allocate that towards your practice. But it's then if you can practice with 100% leverage, then maybe use that cash to fuel the growth. I don't know. It'd be interesting to go through those chapters, not just me, but like with another dentist or just talk through these different,
like a couple
business scenarios of if we did I don't know. And there may not be one right or wrong answer for everybody.
It's actually an interesting concept. Like it's almost like a mastermind. And then the questions kind of generated from the book almost.
Yeah, like, hey, if you're like we've got two doctors who are in their 30s and they're whatever, they each own their own practice and who knows, maybe it wouldn't go very well. I don't know, but I'm just like, I think it'd be interesting because like when you made that comment earlier, I was thinking like, man, if you can cash flow a business for 100% leverage, think about what all the other else you can do with this cash, whether that's
100%.
Or that's for marketing or whatever.
Yeah. And that's the thing that like, I have clients that are maybe in really similar situations, but I'll give them two different recommendations based on like, what is happening, right? Like you're a dentist and you're cash flowing great, but you want to start a second practice and you've done a great job. And if you don't put money into retirement this year, you're going to have more cash and liquidity to like market and make your practice blow up, right? Versus somebody else, maybe a decent CEO, and it's more so like, hey, you're a great clinician. Don't chase the next best thing and the shiny object. Like just
stay disciplined, save, and
stay in your lane kind of thing to some extent, right? And then, so it's just, and that's, I think the hardest thing is like, it's so unique to each person. And that was something I struggled with in the book. I think I wrote like several times, like, hey, this is
I can't outline every
all
possible
like,
scenario for.
because there's so many if then this, but I'm actually, man, Joseph, I definitely want to connect more. This has been
Agreed.
great talking with you. I got to run to a meeting that I'm 2 minutes
Oh,
late to
okay.
now, but
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you finish, I'm sure we'll circle back. Let me know. I'm happy to
for
share,
sure.
repost this. I enjoyed our conversation, and then let me know when the book's done. I'd love to read it.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for the time,
Cool.
Joseph. We'll
All
talk
right,
soon.
man. Yeah, all the
I'll
best.
see ya.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to Smiles and Cents. For more information, resources, and to schedule, visit dentistfinancialplanning.com. This podcast is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered investment, tax, legal, or accounting advice. Any opinions expressed are subject to change and may not reflect the views of affiliated firms. Investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal, and past performance does not guarantee future results. Please consult your financial, tax, and legal professionals regarding your individual situation.